you are welcome to choose any row down here. We just ask that you slide all the way across to your far right-hand side. We got a lot of folks coming in for this class. We want to make sure we have room for everybody. So pick a row, slide all the way down to your far right-hand side. And when you get to the other end, that's where all the paper is. So take one sheet off the top and then pass the rest along. Hi, everybody. Any row down here. They are all good seats. Just make sure to keep sliding all the way down to your far right-hand side. If you stop in the middle, we get a big traffic jam. Eraser, exactly right. You know, we find that erasers really tend to hinder the creative flow. It's easy to get caught up trying to get things perfect, constantly starting over. So instead, this is all about starting alight. Don't be afraid to be messy, because as we go, we'll darken what works. We'll let the mistakes fade into the background. So on the left side of our page, I'm going to move over a little bit from center. We're going to sketch in a large triangle. You can think of a great big wedge of cheese. Just keep in mind that if you get too small with this triangle, it gets hard to be loose and sketchy. So really a size that is most comfortable for you. And that's going to give us the basic structure for Phineas. Nothing precise. I'm using a whole bunch of lines just to rough that into place. Then, for Ferb, I'm going to move over to the right side of the page, and I'm going to sketch in a large triangle that's standing tall, a very skinny rectangle in place there. And like I did the triangle, just going back over this using a whole bunch of lines, but that gives us our foundation for these two characters, our basic structures. Now, jumping down to the very bottom of the rectangle, not only am I going to darken it up, but I'm also going to extend it out just a little bit. And then attached to that is a stretched out letter W. So that's going to give us the color of Ferb's shirt. He tends to be a little more formal than Phineas does. Phineas is usually seen wearing a t-shirt. So let's jump over to the bottom of that triangle, and we're actually going to trim that corner away using a letter C. So using a C curve, trimming that off. And then I'm going to take a second larger letter C, and I'm going to wrap it around what I just made. So I'm going to go from the top, swinging this underneath, and pulling that right back in. So it kind of looks like part of a donut once you get that into place. For most characters, I like to plug in the nose right toward the beginning. That way I have a central anchor spot that I can build out from. Now with Phineas, the nose is pretty much there. It's the end of that triangle that we started with. So let's jump over to Ferb. We're going to start his nose as a letter C. This is floating outside of the box. And then I'm going to attach it at the bottom using a straight line. So like I'm closing in that gap. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing on top, but this line actually breaks inside of the box just a little bit. Now, where we left off at the end there, that's where Ferb's first eye is going to sit, the one that's closer to us. I'm going to sketch in a circle. I'll start this off light, and then I'll go back and darken. And remember, as you're darkening, you can always adjust a little bit if you need to. And then for the second eye, I'm going to use a letter C. I'm going to start on the circle, I'm going to arch this up, and I'm going to have it land right on top of the nose. With this guy, one eye is a little bigger than the other, give him a distinct sort of look. Now, for Phineas, let's jump back over to our triangle, and right on top of that line, I'm going to add another circle. So this is the first eye that's closer to us. I'm going to start that light, like I did over here, and I'll go back and I'll darken that up. And then the second eye, the one that's on the other side of his head, this is going to be a rainbow. I'm going to start at the circle, and I'm just going to pull this down so it hits the top of the triangle. Now when you have those in place, then it's time to wake these guys up. I'll start here with the Phineas. I'm going to place some smaller circles up here in the corners to create his pupils. We're going to have him looking up like he is thinking of a new way to make the most of their summer vacation. You can even shade those in, add some tone inside there. And then for Ferb, these are even smaller circles, and I'm going to plug these in down here toward the bottom corners, like he's looking for Perry. Like I said, he's the one that tends to be a little more serious. So when it comes to expression, instead of posing him with a smile or a frown, I'm just going to pose by adding just where his top lip is, just to indicate the mouth. So underneath the nose, I'm going to attach what looks like an upside down number 7. I'm going to take a curved line, I'm going to pull it forward, and then I'm going to pull it straight back in. And then over here for Phineas, he tends to be a little more mischievous, so I'm going to attach a smile. This is going to be a letter U that curves up toward the eye. Now when you have that in place, when you have that letter U, then it's a matter of jumping to the very back of the triangle. That's where his ear is going to sit, and it's a letter C. Make sure that you have this breakout side of that triangle so his head doesn't get flat all the way around. Over here for Ferb, this is a backward letter C, directly across from the nose. And then inside of that, I'm going to place a number 3. And then on Phineas, it's a backward 3, or like a letter E, just to indicate the inside ridge of the ear. So with all of that in place, all we have left would be their hair. They've got some really distinct hairstyles. With Phineas, I'm going to jump to the very top of the triangle, this little point right up here. And to the left, I'm going to create what look like 3 shark fins in a row, or like upside down letter V's. I'm going to start at that point. I'm going to have 1 shark fin that curves up. I'm going to have 1 that curves out to the side, and this doesn't have to be exact, it is hair after all. And then 1 more that curves down. I'm going to do the same thing again, but going the other direction. So 1 shark fin up, out to the side, and curving down. And he tends to keep his hair really short on the sides. So to show that, I'm going to place 3 dots that form their own little triangle right up here in the corner. Now, when it comes to Ferb, his hair is a whole lot longer. So I'm going to jump over to the top of my rectangle. I'm going to start here in the back, and I'm going to pull forward what looks like a wave. I'm going to pull this in Phineas's direction. And then from the bottom of that wave, I'm going to stretch out a rainbow. I'm going to pull this past the nose. You can stretch that out as far as you like. But from where you just left off, so the end of that rainbow, we're going to take a second rainbow and we're going to pull it back to the rectangle. So that's the front part of his hair. And the back part is actually pretty easy. We're going to use our 3 shark fin trick like we did over there on Phineas. So I'm going to jump back here and I'm going to go 1 shark fin curved up, 1 out to the side, 1 more curving down. And there's a little bit of a gap above the eye, so I'm just going to fill that in by wedging in a letter W. Or you can just think of it as a couple of upside down shark fins, just closing off that space. All right, well, let's do a little bit of darkening. Let's close in some lines here. For example, I'm going to go to the back of the rectangle. I'm going to close that off around the ear, the back of his head. I'm going to close in the space above the eye, underneath the nose, and from the mouth down. And I'm also going to jump over to Phineas. I'm going to darken in the top of the triangle around the eye, and then also the back and the bottom, darkening those up. Now, when you're done with that, you are welcome to go back into your drawing. If there are any other lines that you want to darken, if you want to go over the eyes again, get those to stand out a little more, you can. But as artists, the last mark is, of course, the artist's signature. Be sure to find a spot and autograph that, because you have just created your very own Phineas and Ferb. So how did we do? How'd these turn out? Did we have fun drawing these guys? Yeah, okay. Well, this is my favorite part of the class. This is where we get to see what you've created out there. So on the count of 3, let's hold them up and let's take a look around. Let's have a little bit of an art show. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, Phineas and Ferb. Let's see what we got out there. Let's check these out. Very nice front row, looking fantastic. Excellent job here in the middle. It's really dark eyes, perfect. Back rows look great too. I love the hair. Nice job on that. Well, I gotta say, I am impressed. What are you thinking over there, Leia? Yeah, folks, great news. You passed our class. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Congratulations to you. All right, well, now that you are all done with Phineas and Ferb, we invite you to come on back for our next class. We're going to start again in about 15 minutes. If not, if we don't see you, have fun out there tonight. Class is dismissed. Thank you, Leia. Bye-bye, everybody.
Everyone give a round of applause to your artist, Myron. Real quick draw, Phineas and Ferb. Thank you, bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, your exit is now open. Just make sure that you prop those drawing boards back where you found them against your seat, and please place those pencils back in the spring. Again, that exit is going to be to your right and up the stairs in the double green doors. And if you do not want to keep your drawings, we do have a recycling bin upstairs next to the exit.